ụlọ nsọ gị Chukwu ka ị na-abata, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Anya bịawa ịsọpụrụ gị ugbu a, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Bịa o bịakwute ya, bịakwute ya, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Bịa o bịakwute ya, bịa o bịakwute ya, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Chukwu nna n'ụlọ gị ka ị na-akpọ gị, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Otito na-adịrị gị mgbe niile, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Bịa o bịakwute ya, bịakwute ya.
Otito niile dịrị Chineke, ọgbasi dị elu, Chukwu obiọma, Chidi ebere, Olisa nwa amara, ka ụzọ anyị niile ọbụla bụrụ ihe, ka ihe ọbụla kpatara aka bụrụ sọ mma, ka ụwa niile site n'ozi ọma anyị a nwụsị obi aṅụrị taa na mgbe ebighị ebi. Ọfọ ya gazie. He say, all praises to Chi the Creator, the Supreme Being, Chi the Good, Chi the Magnificent, Chi magnificent with grace, excuse me. Let everywhere of our lives be light, let all our acts be crowned with good, and may the world prosper from our ministry, now and forever. So let it be. Amen. Just about choked right there, saying the prayer.
He say, how are you? Good morning, good morning, good morning. That's the way I see it. That's the way I call it. And that's the way it should be.
Yes,
it's a wonderful day in the neighborhood.
Mr. Rogers, I hear you.
It's a wonderful day. I'm so glad that we are part of. Hold 1 second. Hold 1 second. Okay. I'm just so grateful that we are walking amongst the living, where there are so many people who did not. So much confusion in our world, and there are people who are not walking with us today. So welcome. I want to welcome you, Divya, Yudi, Mamao, welcome. Yagazie. I'm okay, Divya Ochwaja, Dr. Onyoha Osimiri. I'm the spiritual leader of the Global Faith Ministries of Chiism, a ministry of the Godian religion, founded by Ahai K.O.K. Onyoha, and immensely supported by Noha of Mkporo, Chief Ngozi Onyoha, his life partner. They were our parents who introduced the world the spirituality empowering philosophy of Godianism, or Chiism in Igbo. It's a spiritual empowerment coming from the African perspective. We give accolades to all the thought warriors who worked with them to create the mindset of spiritual awareness. Those who dedicated their life to offer the world Africa's philosophy of Bidi Kambidi, live and let live, so that peace, like doves, shall return to human interaction. At the heart of Chiism, because I did have somebody who wanted me to explain a little bit more what Chiism is about. So at the heart of Chiism lies an understanding of the African spiritual tradition, which emphasizes direct communication with the Creator. Now, this tradition posits that the right way you are is inherently intertwined with the divine presence that exists within and around us, the Creator. Embodying divine love, manifesting order in our lives, guiding us toward a path free from fear and anxiety. As individuals, we are seen as the temples of ChinEke, the divine Father and the divine Mother, the duality of the divine, harboring the divine power within us. Right where we are, ChinEke is. That means we have divine power within us, giving us the capacity to do, to move in holy boldness wherever we go. This belief asserts that these divine masculine and feminine spiritual energies we engage with is fundamentally based on love. Love. And thus, it is our duty to channel love in our actions and interactions with our fellow man. The essence of peace is mirrored in ChinEke, in ChinEke's nature. Therefore, we strive to embody peace in our hearts and communities. Joy too, reflects ChinEke's spirit, urging us to cultivate joy in our daily lives. Chiism teaches that ChinEke is the source of goodness, the truth, the divine order. So when we talk about ChinEke, we're not just shooting the breeze. That is the source of goodness, the source of truth and divine order in every one of us, those who believe in the existence of a divine. We are wrapped in a sacred truth, which is ChinEke, which represents the highest manifestation of the divine. Truth is the highest manifestation of the divine. That means we as human beings need to emulate in everything we do. We must ensure that we speak the truth. If indeed the spirit is within us, we are wrapped in truth. So we must be truthful in our engagement with our fellow human beings. In the face of affliction, be it physical, be it mental and emotional, our beliefs are anchored in the understanding that the power of the Most High is already alive within us. No matter what we're going through, that too shall pass. Even in death, even if death takes us, we know that we are still on the journey. If we haven't made it to 80, we're coming back. So this inherent strength equips us to confront whatever challenges and overcome whatever challenges we face. We recognize that mental conditions or struggles do not define us. Now, this is what our ancestors gave us. The circumstances that we confront transcend us, not diminish us. The spirit of ChinEke resides in us continuously, working to establish order and healing in our lives. We don't have, if you're focused on healing and order in your life, you don't have time to hate people. African spirituality, we don't focus on my way or the highway. So this belief constitutes our divine inheritance, the legacy of spiritual empowerment. That is our divine inheritance. That is what our ancestors taught us. That is what ChinEke Onyoha and all the spiritual warriors taught us. I am so grateful this day that was my upbringing. I embrace it as part of my journey. And all Chi's, we embrace that spiritual empowerment within us as part of our journey. So in essence, Chiism is a call to remember your divine nature, to celebrate your connection with ChinEke, and to live in alignment with love, peace, joy, and truth. It is a philosophy that inspires resilience, encouraging us to harness the divine power within us to navigate complexities of life. It is a spiritual gift that our ancestors, that many of us unfortunately tend to denounce, gave us. We must propagate that to our children, to the world even, because it's the most powerful tool for social harmony. And with that, I just want to, that was my introduction about what Chiism is. Yudi, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Well, I think obviously, what you've talked about, brings about one truth and one truth only. It is the fact that we see God based on cultural perspectives and experiences. So it's a different meaning in different religions. cultural interpretations that we have out there, and these cultural interpretations are based on experiences. The experience of the person in Japan, their physical, their environment, and all that is totally different from somebody in South Africa or somebody in Argentina, down there in Colombia or Brazil, or even in Europe. It's different. And our perception of, or the way we see God is really based on our experiences and our environment. So that when it comes to the Creator, when it comes to ChinEke, it is not a one glove fits all kind of situation, because we have varied experiences. So this is one of the things that Chiism propagates, right? When we say that we believe in the Almighty Creator, God, the creator of the heavens and earth, as our source of inspiration, strength, and as our protector. And this is a common theme amongst all religions. I mean, if you have a religion or spirituality, that is based on interaction between us and the Creator, if you don't feel in any of these religions, or even from personal experience, that the Creator is not your source of inspiration, strength, and your protector, then you're pretty much atheist, right? You have no belief or concept. You just think it's all about evolution. You don't ask yourself some, really beyond the microscope kind of question. What's responsible for the evolution? You talk about two atoms, smashing together, and this reaction that happens. Well, what causes it? It's sort of like the conversation I had at the United Nations with one of the archbishops that was there during the World Disarmament conference of the United Nations in 1978, and he was the scientist. It was a scientist that was talking to about the Big Bang and how the universe came about and all that. And because of the Big Bang theory and all that, there's no, the idea of God, it just doesn't make sense at all. So I just asked one simple, beyond the microscope question: what's responsible for the Big Bang, and how can you prove to me that ChinEke wasn't responsible for that Big Bang?
Yes, and we're going to go into all of that, Dibia, in half an hour. Yeah, I want you to discuss that in full details. Thank you. And I just want the Chi's perspective, the point of view of Chiism is what we want to talk about today. And you will notice that on the screen I have physical representation of Arunsi. Those are the graces of ChinEke. Okay, I'm not going to discuss them, but I just want you to be familiarized with the names of the Arunsi. Okay, and the physical representation of those graces, which is all parts of nature. But the nature of divine ChinEke, as Yudi said, is in the mind of the believer. It truly is in the mind of the believer. What you believe in is what ChinEke is. All right. It's an intriguing perspective, because the idea is that individuals perceive ChinEke through their own beliefs and experiences. Hear what I'm saying? So it suggests that divine interpretation can be deeply personal and subjective. You see what I'm saying? So in this view, ChinEke embodies the values and qualities that resonate with the person, with the individual, reflecting their hopes, their fears, and their desires.
Amen.
So see, what happens is this can lead to a diverse understanding of divinity across different cultures and personal experiences. That's why you cannot preach my way or the highway, because even though you have your doctrines, all right, people still interpret the divine from their own experiences, from their own perspectives. That's why you have people who are Christian or Muslim, but they act differently. They will tell you, I am a Christian, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Buddhist, and this, that, and the other. And all these religions have their own set of dogma that the adherents have to adhere to. However, if you listen to some of the principles that the religions believe, people act differently. If it says love your neighbor as you love yourself, you find some individuals are hateful. And their interpretation is that the divine, that ChinEke agrees with them, that some people are not worthy.
Yeah, which is going on.
But
right
that
now.
is not what their church is teaching. That's what their personal beliefs, their values, their personal values believe. They may go to church, but that's not what they practice. Their environment, their acculturation determines how they'll act in spite of the doctrines of the religion. That's why you see a lot of people who proclaim they know God, but they are hateful, they are racist, they hurt people, they hurt the poor, and yet they will quote a scripture or whatever religious books associated with their faith. So it's important for us to understand that when somebody says to you, I'm this, I'm that, they're not necessarily adhering to what their doctrines say. They are adhering to what their experiences are, their hopes, their fears. That's why you have a diverse understanding of the Bible, diverse understanding of the Quran, diverse understanding of the Bhagavad Gita. It depends on the person who's practicing it, not necessarily what the book says, but the acculturation of the person and their personal experiences. So it raises interesting questions about the nature of faith and how it shapes one's relationship with the divine. Am I making sense here?
Yes.
Now, this is my interpretation of Anyanwu. The eyes that see all, which is a reflection of God's grace in nature. Anyanwu. I'm just showing, I'm just putting that out there. So the question is, how does our personal beliefs shape communal beliefs or religious practices? Interesting. Now, I've touched upon a profound aspect of human behavior and spirituality. It's striking, and you will agree with me. You live in this world. What I'm saying is what you probably have experienced. Individuals often reconcile their actions, regardless of their morality, with their perception of ChinEke. This tendency to invoke divine support in pursuit of self-serving goals can highlight a disconnection between declared beliefs by your faith and your actual practices. If you want to go and steal, if you want to go and rob a bank, as some people do, the first thing they do is they get down on their knees and they pray. And they ask for God, or ChinEke, whatever your term is, to support their activity, what they are about to do. So to them, the nature of ChinEke is a thief. So ChinEke is a thief because ChinEke will help them steal. And once they come out of that bank and they steal, they say, thank you to the divine. But that's their concept of the divine, because it's based on their values, it's based on their desires. It's not based on scripture. It's not based on what the Bible says or what the Quran says. It's based on what they say. So now many people adhere to the outward forms of their faith, while internally they're grappling with deeper moral and ethical questions. Some people are confused because what they believe is different from what they're being told, the reality of their faith. So it becomes a moral and ethical frustration for a lot of them. Now, this duality can lead to a form of cognitive dissonance, where a person's action does not align with their professed beliefs. What is your professed belief? I believe in God. as my source of inspiration, my strength, and my protection. I believe in the universal brotherhood and sisterhood of humanity under the parenthood of one God. And yet, once you leave that environment where that is being preached, you become evil. You become devilish. You become outright determined to undermine the existence of another. That's because there's a conflict, there's a dissonance. Your actions don't align with your professed beliefs. Again, as I said earlier, that is why people believe in one thing and practice another. Sometimes even the belief in whatever their religious organization preaches is like a duty that they have to do. On a particular day, I have to go there and I have to go and say amen or whatever the heck I have to say to suit the organization that I'm a part of. But then when I'm out of it, then I do what it is that I want to do. That's why you have the diversity. It raises important considerations about the authenticity. Hear what I'm saying. How authentic is faith and the role of individual morality in religious expression. In our situation, we are reminded, right where you are, God is. Is that not right, Judy? Judy, did you hear me? Are you there?
Yeah, I heard you. I'm trying to get a pen so I could write down some of the stuff that you're talking about.
Yeah. So in effect, what I'm saying is we have a tendency to believe, to express verbally what the dogma that we're fed, but in practice we do something totally different. Our religious expression is totally different from our own morality, our own individual morality. And I just want to go back again and remind you that when somebody says to you, I'm this religion, I'm that religion, and that, don't focus on what that religion is about. You have to focus on who are they? What are they doing? Their actions. Their actions represent their belief system. And when they talk about God, that God they're talking about represents who they are, not what the church or the mosque or whomsoever is saying, whatever the religions are. So the nature of God as perceived by individuals can be influenced by personal ethics and motivations rather than strictly by religious doctrine. If I believe that God is good, I'm going to act good because that's my own personal morality. That's my belief system. I want to be a good person. That means if I do something good and I say thank you God or thank you ChinEke, then I am thanking God who represents my own personal morality. That's what I see. That is the divine that I profess has represents my own morality. But you watch on TikTok and all these social media, and you see people are so easily manipulated. So people are so angry, and a lot of times they want to see other people hurt. They want to see pain inflicted on others because that's their concept of God. God inflicts pain. So I will pray for God to harm my neighbor because that's the God that I see. That is a problem. So that when people think their way or the highway, my church doctrines is the way. No, it's not. You have to look at the people who are practicing what you're preaching. Are they practicing it outside of the church? Because your doctrines are different from the belief system of your congregants. So, am I making sense here? Of course.
You're making so much sense. I'm so lost. I don't have anything to say after this one.
Here's Amadioha. Amadioha, you know, the representation of lightning, of thunder. I'm just putting that little picture there. That's just a physical representation. Now, how does this awareness influence someone's spiritual journey or moral development? I think that all of us must acknowledge, okay, that what we practice does not always fit what we are taught. So we have to really weigh which one serves us best. Is it what we are taught, or is it what we believe? Knowing that what we believe rather, is impacted by our environment. Now, I have articulated a compelling point about the limitations of religion as a moral compass. That's why religions, quite frankly, fail. Now, I was watching a particular pastor who was just, you know, he put it on the people. What do you believe? It's not what I'm telling you to believe, but what do you believe? And that's just it. When individuals interpret their relationship with ChinEke in a way that justifies their actions, regardless of whether those actions are moral or ethical, it can indeed lead to troubling dynamic where faith does not deter wrongdoing. People are told in Christianity, you're told that if you do bad things, you're going to hell. Right? But still, people are committing all kinds of crimes. Faith does not deter wrongdoing. Personal experience, personal belief system, your personal belief system is what, and if you're lucky, you were raised in an environment where people believe that it's important to be kind to your fellow human being. That becomes your belief system. And that's really truly what governs you, not necessarily the doctrines of the church, but what you were raised in. My father was a very giving man. Very giving. I was raised around that. What you give, you shall receive. The other day, two days ago, it was earlier, about 2 weeks ago, I met an elderly woman at a store, and she was complaining that this holiday season is going to be very, very difficult for her because she doesn't have the money, okay, to give toys and whatever to her family, to her children. She has 2 grandsons. And I heard her, and she seemed so sad. So bearing in mind what my parents said to me, what you give comes back to you, boomerangs back to you. I gave her my card, and I told her, here, give me a call. Perhaps there's something my organization can do for you. She was so grateful. I never gave it another thought. And as a matter of fact, today I'm going to share, I'm going to post the video on my Facebook page, but I got a call from a case manager, and the case managers indicated that this lady said that I gave her a card and that she had gone to my webpage and she has seen that what I said to her was that we help families and children and all of that. Is that true? And I told her, yeah, it's definitely true. And I remembered who the woman was. She says, well, can I speak to her? So she gave me the phone and I spoke to her. I said, how are you doing? And she said, she's fine. Now she was wondering if what I promised her, that I will do it. I said, sure, I'll pick you up. That was 2 days ago. I told her I'll pick her up. I'll take her to a toy store, a Five Below, and she can pick up whatever she wants for the grandchildren, right? So I went and picked her up. She still didn't believe it. She said, "You really going to do this?" I said, "Yes, I made a promise to you. I'll do it." So I took her there, and she was just like, like on cloud nine. She didn't know, oh, she'll pick this, she'll pick that. She was just going on. It was just wonderful. She called her daughter and told her. The woman showed up. She really did show up. She picked me up. And we're here. What do you need for the children? Blah, 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 all that sort of thing. So the mother of the children, who was a student, a nursing student, and really works part-time, really didn't have money to get any gifts for the children. So she was very grateful. And I told her, it's okay, no problem. So we went on, but I bought her stuff, and I took her back home. And she says, the day that the children open the gifts, she's going to do the video and send to me, so that we can see the joy that we brought. Well, joy comes not from money all the time. Joy sometimes comes from what you do for people, because it comes back to you. Yeah. It comes back. So your belief system is, because to me, to us, cheers, right where we are, ChinEke is, and if ChinEke is kind, if we believe that ChinEke is kind, you don't have to tell me. No book has to tell me that. My environment taught me that. So that's my belief system. So what I did, I fully, truly believe that it will come back to me. So faith churches do not necessarily deter wrongdoing, because they can really control people's belief system, because the environment does that. So if you come from an environment that's very, very cruel, where people, you have maybe a father who beats on his wife, or a woman who's screaming and carrying on and acting crazy, that's how you're going to act, no matter what the church said. Now, it's going to take a lot of work for you to say, okay, I don't want my environment to be my belief system, and maybe you gravitate closer to whatever the church is saying. But if it is about what you see God as, it comes from your belief system. If you think, if you're around a lot of kindness and joy and peace and love, that's your image of the Creator. If you're around people who steal, people who abuse others, that's your impression of who the divine is. Okay, so personal beliefs, understanding of one's relationship with the divine are paramount. They are paramount in shaping behavior. People may selectively embrace aspects of their faith that align with their desires, leading to a faith that supports rather than challenges their actions. Did you get what I said there, Yudi? Yeah. You see? Let me say it again. People may selectively embrace aspects of their faith that align with their personal desires, leading to a faith that supports their desire, their beliefs, than challenges their actions. Now, this perspective I'm sharing emphasizes the importance of personal responsibility and the need for individuals to engage in self-reflection and moral reasoning. You cannot blame the church or the Quran or the mosque, wherever you go. They may teach moral principles that, if practiced, will help society, will help you. But it all depends on your environment, on your own personal ethics. So you have to develop personal responsibility and engage yourself in reflection and moral reasoning. You have to reason morally. What I'm doing, is it right? And it doesn't help when we don't see the divine as part of us. When we see ChinEke or
outside of yourself,
outside of us, we think we have room to wiggle. But when you see right where I am, ChinEke is. I don't have the wiggle room to be mean to people, to be cruel. I have to have my own personal responsibility if I truly believe that the divine is in me. Then how can I act ugly?
Responsibility, yeah.
So it illustrates that true moral development comes from within through a genuine understanding of oneself and one's values, rather than merely following external religious dictates. That's why when somebody says, oh, you can't be a Christian and you're acting like that, that doesn't make sense. Because that person has no moral responsibility. Their values has nothing to do with what you're talking about. They DBUD, there were recently they had women who were a woman who was hungry and didn't have food to feed her child, her newborn, didn't have milk to feed her newborn. She went to a church, okay, because morally she believed that the church will help her, because when she was able to, her upbringing, her understanding of God is benevolence. So if I go to church, there should be benevolence there. But they turned her away. They turned her away. You can see how that created a confusion in her mind. So she herself has her own values, and the church is preaching the values, but when it was time to enact those values into reality, it didn't happen.
Practice what you preach. Practice what you preach.
You practice what you preach. So in light of this, fostering a deeper, more authentic connection with spirituality might encourage individuals to reflect on their actions, excuse me, and their impacts on others, potentially guiding them toward more ethical choices. Now, my pardon me, oh my goodness. Pardon me. So that is very, very important, that we assess what we believe in and not assume that just because people go to church and they say, oh, this is my spirituality, that means anything. Oh, here is Kamalo Yudi.
Yep.
Lightning. That's the divine grace of ChinEke, lightning. How do you see this personal interpretation of spirituality influencing broader societal values and behaviors? That is interesting, isn't it, Yudi? You know.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, if you tuned into Kamalo, Kamalo is, in our ontology, right? It's like the fourth divinity that we pay reverence to. And it represents the forces of nature, sky, rain, lightning, thunder, windstorms, the moon, and the stars. It's like the slapping arm of God, right? When you hear Amadio has the sound, Kamalo is the lightning itself, right? That kind of interchangeable, in Yoruba. I think that it's called Shanki in Yoruba, and Ekpenyong in Ibibio language. But
I'm just sharing the pictures. I'm not really focusing on, and because the next workshop is going to focus on the relevance of these images. So
I love those pictures. Those pictures.
Thank you. They're so lovely. They just
I feel like a superhero already. Wakanda forever. Let's go.
Hey, listen. We have our own representation as well. So now, I've highlighted a significant and troubling aspect of how individual interpretations of spirituality can lead to justifications for harmful behaviors, such as racism. Now, when people anchor their beliefs and actions in a perceived divine endorsement, you hear what I'm saying? If you think that based on your background that the divine endorses your behavior, it creates a distorted sense of morality that contradicts the core tenets of many religions, which often emphasize love, compassion, and equality. Now, this disconnect illustrates how personal interpretations can overshadow the teachings of a faith. That's why many faiths are struggling. After a while, people start leaving because what you're saying to them, okay, they can't practice it in reality because it's not their environment. Individuals may cherry pick aspects of their beliefs to support their biases, leading to a worldview that fosters division and hatred rather than unity and understanding.
But also, religion and politics and wealth.
Yes.
They all plays a role in state religions and all that.
The idea of feeling chosen or superior due to one's beliefs can be dangerously empowering, allowing individuals to act with impunity and disregard the humanity of others. That's why you find certain humans, and I don't want to mention names because y'all know, you know who I'm talking about if you understand what's going on in the world. There are some people who are chosen, right? You can't say nothing about them. You can't harm them. But those who are not chosen can be killed, can be harmed, and nobody says anything because they're not chosen. So when you have that superiority complex because of the color of your skin, because of your gender, or because of your religion or where you come from, due to your own beliefs, that's what's dangerous. And it's empowering for that person who truly believes that they are chosen, that they are more important, they have more relevance in the world, and they have the right to exist. So you have disregard of the humanity of others. What you're seeing, what some of the things I'm seeing going on, where people are being arrested, people are being harmed, there's a certain mentality that tells you that you're the chosen one, you're superior. You disregard the humanity of others and you don't care what you do to them. That's a mindset.
It's a sickness.
It's a sickness. You see what I'm saying? But that is not, when you look at those individuals who profess that they are part of a religion that glorifies, love and understanding and humanity, blah, 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 blah. But that's not what they're practicing. That's not what they're practicing, because what they're practicing is their own belief that they are chosen, they are superior, and based on that, they don't care what they do to other human beings. And if you have a setup that tells them that it's okay, that's their environment. That's who they're listening to. Those things control how they think, and they think that the divine ChinEke supports their actions. That's why, like I said earlier, a thief will go and steal and ask God to please stand by the door and make sure nobody comes. And then when he leaves, he gives God high five. We did it, buddy. That's what's dangerous. So why many religions advocate for positive principles, the actions of their adherents can often reflect personal biases more than the teachings themselves. Sometimes the teachings are very biased, but a lot of times the teachings themselves,
it's a weapon of war sometimes.
Yeah.
It's a weapon of war.
That's it. Now, the situation emphasizes the need for critical self-examination within individuals and communities, urging them to reconcile their beliefs with their actions. Whatever your beliefs, if your church is saying, "Thou shalt not kill," you have to reconcile it with your own belief. Does your belief say it's okay to kill? Because if your belief says it's okay to kill, you're going to kill. If your belief says it's okay to be racist, you're going to be racist, even if the church says not to. That's why we have the difficulties we have. People need to examine, to have self-examination within themselves and their communities to see what their beliefs, the actions that they're taking, and that impact, how it impacts on society in spite of what their religious teachings are. So ultimately, when all is said and done, fostering a deeper understanding of shared humanity, regardless of faith, can help counteract these negative interpretations and promote a more compassionate society. It's really not up to the churches. It's up to you. It's up to us. It raises important questions about how to cultivate empathy and understanding across different belief systems. So I'm going to pause here and have Dibia Yudi, based on what I've shared here today. I still have more to go, but I want you to give your own perspective on this topic.
I mean, it needed to be said, and boy, did you say it. Just what needed to be said. It had to be said. I've always drawn the distinction between micro and macro divine relationships. Sort of like the difference between religion and spirituality. And the core difference between religion and spirituality is that religion presents you with a set of belief systems, right? Dogmas, holy men as intermediaries between us and the spirit of ChinEke, or whatever you call ChinEke, Yahweh, Olodumare, Obangiji, whatever that means to you. While spirituality promotes your individual autonomy in defining and connecting to the spirit of ChinEke from your heart and from your mind. That's the difference between the two. Religion talks about a set of dogmas. You go to church every Sunday if you're a Christian. You go to the mosque if you're a Muslim. And you go to the temples in Buddhism and all that kind of stuff. And for us, it's the Obasera Chiism. The relationship is a little bit different for us in Chiism because we believe in your own personal space, your own personal shrine. The word shrine simply means a place of worship. There's nothing negative about the word shrine. So when you see or hear the word shrine, it's subjective, right? Just depends. But a church is a shrine, so is a mosque. So when you hear the word shrine, don't get all discombobulated and think, oh, the devil is coming, to Harlem or whatever. No. It just depends on who's telling it and how to spin it. All right? Micro divine intervention simply means that you see God from your own perspective, beyond what is preached in the church, beyond what your mother or your daddy tells you and all that. It's your own interpretation of this set of rules in religion, and then you need to kind of like balance it with the real world experience that you have and what the religion is telling you that needs to be done. And you will find that there's something off somewhere. You'll find that your personal spiritual belief and what the religion is telling you is different. But you can only feel that way if you have questioned something. If you've asked the why. Why is this? Why is that? Which is your right as a spiritual person to ask. Because once you feel that you don't have the authority to ask, once you separate yourself from ChinEke, once you feel that somebody has to give you permission to talk about how you feel about divine intervention, then spiritually you're in trouble. You pretty much just bow to where you're told to bow, or you just go where the wind blows. Your makeup as a human being is influenced by what you were taught in church and your parents and all that kind of stuff. And you've been indoctrinated with this constant going to the mosque, constant going to the church, indoctrination, until that's how you see life. That's what you understand. And depending on how your culture is selling this understanding, it can be good or it can be bad. Take, for example, the Vikings. I mean, the worst thing that can happen to you as a Viking is not to die in battle. Because in their religion, they believe that if you die in battle, then you can ascend to Asgard and drink ale with the gods in the presence of Odin. So that all your life, All you think about is going into battle, not considering how those people who you just invaded feel about your invasion. In your religion, and from your own personal interpretation of what you've been told and how you were raised, you now believe that it's your duty as a Viking to go in there, plunder, murder, and then hope to die in battle, because only then can you ascend to Asgard. What about in Christianism? It's about the same thing. Unless you accept Him as your Lord and Savior, all your good behavior, all your loving your fellow human beings as you love yourself, all the homeless and all the poor people that you've helped, you've been your best version of yourself with this divine and spiritual linkage that you have that makes your spiritual presence very powerful. So here you are. You have your personal understanding, but now you're a criminal. And you got to go rob the bank. So before you go rob the bank, you pray. Oh, God, please, let me go rob this bank. If you just help me, if I become successful, I promise you, I will go to church on Sunday. I will make the Friday's donation. I will even help the homeless. I will do all kinds of stuff. I will take from Paul and give to Peter. The Robin Hood syndrome. I'm the good guy, even though you're still a thief and a criminal. But you justify it because your religion told you that that was the right thing to do to be accepted into your heavens, into your Asgard, or whatever, into Mount Olympus, if that's relevant. So there's this disassociation that we have between religion and spirituality, where they really are supposed to be merged together. Because in religion, you have this core belief systems that has something to do with your own personal belief. It is the religion itself. It's Christianism, it's Buddhism, it's that, whatever it is. It is those religious set of beliefs and dogmas and their holy men, especially in Abrahamic religions of Islam and Christianism, where somebody becomes the intermediary between you and the almighty ChinEke. All of a sudden, you have no power when it comes to your relationship with God. But anyway, I'm getting off the subject a little bit of the story I was telling. So you go and rob a bank. Then after you rob the bank, the first thing you do is you take the loot because you were successful. You made a little donation to the bank, helped a couple of homeless people, and then you thank God for helping you burglarize a business successfully. Now, for you, God helped you to do it. But for the business owner, you're the devil. But in your mind, you feel that God is part of this thing, because what we don't understand sometimes is that our belief in God really, not really, but there's a relationship between our survival in this world and our relationship with God. And so if your survival in this world entails going to war, killing, murdering, plundering for the survival of your village, your city, your race, your country, whatever it is in your mind that you think that you have to fight for, you will believe that God is with you for you to go in there and kill your neighbor that has a right to exist, just like you, and probably has his own religion. You justify your act by putting yourself on this pedestal that everybody else that doesn't have your spiritual or religious point of view is inferior, is below you, and must be exterminated, stepped on. Because God has promised you, his children, because God was so foolish and stupid that he created animals and other human beings everywhere. The different races, scientifically, is really evolution. That's all. Come from Africa, spread out 270,000 years ago. People evolved based on their environment and then developed their religion and spiritual way of looking at their environment. So that the spiritual experience of the Eskimo is totally different from that of the Inca in the Amazon. But the problem we have in the world today is that the Eskimo has now come to the Amazon jungle and has told the Inca native South American that they should adopt a polar bear that doesn't really exist in the environment. Or maybe they should start looking at snow when there's no snow in the Amazon. And then the Amazonian gives up the jungle, gives up the tiger, the jaguar, gives us all the animals and all these great things about their environment. and starts talking about polar bears and snow in the Amazon. How do you think that's going to work? Where he now needs to survive in his environment, what is he looking for? A knife to cut a tree down and build a house? Or is he looking for snow to build an igloo? Come on, people. This is what we do when it comes to religion and spirituality. There's a difference there. We just don't see it because nobody has ever told us that there's a difference. And like I mentioned earlier, the difference is that religion presents a set of belief systems, a set of dogmas, and then for some reason, there's always this holy man in between. Even non-Abrahamic religions, you still talk about he's the woman that is responsible for this religion. But you only talk about it from the perspective of historical journey of how this movement or religious or spirituality became a reality. Not necessarily for you to bow down and say, I can only experience God's gift and blessings only if I see God through Buddha. Buddha has to be my immediate intermediary because I don't have the power. I am powerless. And yet I claim to be a child of God. But I don't have the power to talk to God directly. I always told this story. Remember the story? I'm sure you told that story where when I is trying to demonstrate what we're talking about, our direct relationship with ChinEke without passing through any medium, which is what Chiism propagates, and also that every human being has a right to worship ChinEke in the way they understand best without bitterness. That's the way it should be. But here's the funny thing, and the story goes, something else, man. Your conjecture of God, it just depends on how you see God. It's just how you see God based on your need, your environment, and your survival dictates. A lot of religions are not about God. It's about an indoctrination into a system that hopefully you become a warrior of it. And through these religious beliefs, become indoctrinated enough to fight and die for it. And protect the community. Some religious movements and some religions are geared that way. There's no individual options. It is state affair. That's it, like the Mayans did. The Aztecs. Where they will leave and go and raid other villages because that's the dictate of their religion, and they have to do that because if they go to the next village and get some people and sacrifice them, then they will have bountiful harvest. The hunters will be able to go into the Amazon jungle, hunt for meat, and will be very successful. So our conjecture of God is tied into the spiritual part of things as opposed to religion. And that's what we need to pay attention to, the spiritual aspect of our relationship with ChinEke, because the spirituality says that it's about individual autonomy in defining and connecting ChinEke's spirit to fit your heart and your mind, which is what you're going to use to interact with people out there, not religion. On a personal basis, it is your spirituality that defines your relationship between the environment and your fellow human beings. And don't forget that your fellow human being is also part of this environment that we talk about. Because when we talk about environment, we're just not talking about the geography of it all, the rivers and the streams and the mountains and all those things that influence everything. Human beings also influence how we see God. Human beings influence how we see God. And our initial understanding and our acceptance of the magnificence of ChinEke is going to be based on our personal understanding of what ChinEke can do, which most of the time, depending on the indoctrination, we get it from our churches, from our mosques. And sometimes it's so strong that your own individual opinion becomes irrelevant. Think about that. You are so into the religion, not the spiritual part of it, which is what Chiism propagates, that every human being has the right to worship ChinEke in the way they understand best without bitterness. We don't believe in exclusive truth that is practiced by Abrahamic religions. And I'm only using the Abrahamic religions as an example here because most of the colonizing influence and most of the slavery and most of these displacement of indigenous groups was created by people that profess Abrahamic religion. I mean, how many places in the world did you see Buddhism influence? Or Shintoism? Or Sikhism? Or Zoroastrianism? Those religions had influence within their own environment of founding. And outside the borders a little bit, but it was not to bring you the word of God and tell you that my way or the highway, if you don't see God the way I see it, then you're going to hell. And since you don't see God the way I see God, I'm going to help God send you to hell by killing you. And sometimes it's not even about the religion. Sometimes it's now about what school of thought within this religion are you professing? Are you Anglican? Are you Baptist? Are you Catholic? Then you find out that within these sectors, they are now killing each other over their own set of dogma and beliefs as opposed to their personal space, their heart, connecting the spirit of God with them personally. So when you say love your neighbor as you love thyself, it's coming from here. You're loving your neighbor because you would like to be loved.
Yes.
But I say, like we do in Chisholm, we don't profess love your neighbor as you love yourself for the most part. We say love your neighbor as you would like ChinEke to love you. Because we believe that ChinEke, God never does wrong. It's always good. Always good. So do unto others as you would like ChinEke to do unto you. Because, you know, the dope dealer in South America, how do you think he wants to do unto me? Or what do you think wants to be done unto him? You think he wants to be left alone to keep selling the drugs and destroying lives? For him, if you go to his personal shrine, his Obasian house home, I guarantee you he has a statue of Santa Maria with a human skull on it, with all the beautiful, what do you call those things, halos. And he has to go there, sacrifice a chicken to a Christian saint, then go outside and massacre and murder people and sell drugs and do whatever, then come back at home and do Santa Maria. So your your belief in God just depends on what your conjecture of God is. What do you think God can do? And that belief system that you have, how is the environment influencing it?
Yes.
Because if my environment is an environment where I got to fight to survive, well, guess what? My God is a battle God. And whatever I do, because I have this sense of survival, I will justify it with ChinEke. Just like they did in Jerusalem. You went to capture the city of Jerusalem. Who told you that the city of Jerusalem belonged to the Catholic Church in Italy or Spain? Why? And not only that, it's not about being Christian anymore. It's about being Catholic. So if you're a Christian, you're a Protestant, whatever it is you are, you will be annihilated by the Catholic Church, even though you read the Bible. The Islam does the same thing. I can't even count on my fingers how many wars they fought over Islam before it was finally established. Same thing with the, there were over 20-something crusades. The famous one we know is the one in Jerusalem. But what about the Cathars of France? Over 1 million people slaughtered. They were Christians, but they weren't Catholics. And when they were asked to stop the slaughter, the captain of the army says, kill them all. When they get to heaven, God will know who's a Christian and who's Catholic. It's true. So your conjecture of ChinEke depends on how you feel about God, your environment, what you think God is supposed to do for you to survive. And here's a hot potato here. I call it hot potato because when I say it's going to bounce off, hit somebody's hands, you're going to throw it away. They don't want to, deal with it. But Everything about God, when it comes to our experiences, is not always good.
Nope. No, it's not.
Did y'all hear what I said?
Yes.
Every experience that you have, even though it's divine, it ain't always good.
Oop.
So God ain't always about giving you the good stuff. Sometimes God got to give you the good stuff so that the bigger picture stays good. Evil is a terrible thing. I think you and I have talked about it. Evil is bad. It's the opposite of good. But unless we don't believe that God created everything, God is also responsible for it. It just depends on the context. Because evil exists. And if you're a Christian, the devil is no more powerful than God is it? It's 50-50 between the both of them. Because evil is there, good is there. Without good, you don't know evil. Without evil, you don't know good. It's 50-50, right eye, left eye. So if you bring the devil into the picture and divide it into good for God, and evil for whatever, then you've just brought somebody as powerful as God on the opposite end of it. It's a right hand, left hand. You might be able to know how to use your right and left. Boy, if you can do that, that's a beautiful thing, ain't it? But I don't separate good from evil. We don't in Jesus. It's all part of the package. It's perspective, people. I will not give anybody else or any other spirit the same power that I give to ChinEke that resides in my heart, that lives in me. There's no spirit more powerful than that. Good or bad. Sometimes I got to do bad things so that good things can happen.
Yep.
There have been situations where somebody...
But it all depends on what the bad thing is, of course, you know.
Yeah, it depends. That's what I'm saying. If somebody comes in here and threatens my family, he got a gun. He coming. He preparing for war. What do you think I'm going to do? Leave it up to God to help me? Or say to myself, I am God. I'm about to defend my stuff. I'm finna go over there and I'm going to take that dude out before he takes me out. Do me, I do you, going to go vex. Have you heard that before? So it's all about perspective. It's all about that personal relationship with ChinEke. It's all about understanding that our belief system for every individual is different. One hat does not fit all.
No.
Your environment will influence how you see ChinEke. Your relationship with people will do that. Even your government, the country, war.
Yes.
All kinds of things will affect your faith in ChinEke. Sometimes you will lose faith because there's so much suffering, and in the end, all that is left for you is death. So what's the good in all that? After all, one of the major characteristics and aspects of the Creator that we love is that God does magic. Did you hear what I said?
Yes.
God is about the magic. Without the magic, why would you believe in God? Without the miracle kind of thing, what do you care? Because you remove God from yourself, and it's supposed to be some entity there that grants wishes. And yet, if I needed $100 for my light bill and I came to you, okay, Libya, and asked you for $100 after praying this morning for God to bless me with $100 so that I can pay my light bill. Now, if I ask you for some money and you gave me $100 and I want to pay that light bill, I thank ChinEke because ChinEke helped me through you. We are like God to our fellow human beings because almost all of God's blessings come from somebody else.
Now, and Dibia, somebody would approach you because it is also in their belief system that it will come, their blessing will come through you. They're not going to go to the church. Because 9 out of 10 times the church is not going to do anything for them. So it's personal belief.
Yeah, you just have to be practical with our relationship when it comes to religion, spirituality, and the Creator. You know, we should get off this religion bandwagon for a second. It is important. Let me stress this. Religion is important. And it's important to me just for one reason and one reason only. As an institution that supposedly also helps to curtail bad behavior and promote good one, right? Thou shalt not kill. In religion, and I'm going to take Christianism, for example. In religion, if you kill, you go to hell. but you're only going to get punished after you die now. So meanwhile, civic law says, okay, we ain't got to wait till you die to get punished for killing somebody. We're going to go on and institute that right now. We're going to help send you to hell real quickly. It's going to take somebody to send you there if that's the situation. So for us, we have to be very mindful of our conjecture of what God is.
Yes.
Because in the end, God is love. That's really what God is. And any religion, any religious institution that doesn't teach its adherents, that doesn't preach love and live love, that doesn't understand that diversity is divine, is no religion at all. We have really spent a lifetime, century, millennium, barking up the wrong tree, abusing ourselves mentally, and also abusing God's creatures, whether it's our environment, our fellow human being, the animals, the disrespect that we have for our environment, thinking that we are be all and all, just like the movement over here that they don't understand without those people picking your fruits and apples and grapes. You can't be king. A king without subjects is not a king at all. We have to appreciate the smallest person to the largest person, as long as they are operating in a positive manner for our good, for the good of the whole.
Of the whole. You know,
it is the individual, not the religion, that should govern our behavior, our attitudes towards our fellow human being and our environment, and understand that preaching exclusive truth does nothing but rumple social harmony.
He say, yes. Well said. And that's my initial argument, is that the churches need to understand it is not enough to say that shall not this, that shall not that. You've got to take into consideration the people that you are preaching to, their backgrounds. More emphasis, as far as I'm concerned, in doing services is to talk to the people, have a session where you talk to the people about their belief system, and how that is contrary to what you're teaching. But if you go up there and you say, this is the way it should be, this is the way it should be, and then your people go out there and commit crimes and all of that, right? It's not because they are bad people necessarily. It's because their belief system is what controls or influences their behavior, not your preaching, So you want to take that into consideration and fit that into your preaching. What is it? What do you believe in? Take that into consideration. Now, so what are the effective ways to encourage dialogue and understanding among people with differing values? The DBUD, I think, quite frankly, this is where we are failing as human society. Okay. We don't appreciate the fact that they are different. They're different opinions. They're different values. And as long as every Sunday or whenever it is that religions people gather in front of a preacher, and that preacher is saying, you do this, you do this. If you don't do this, you're going to hell. You're not solving anything. Because when that person leaves that environment, they're going to do what they want to do anyway. So the focus of religions, if they want to be successful, is to take into consideration the diversity in values and teach that. Make sure people understand, everything that we're teaching you today, you may not practice it because of your environment. So let's know what your environment is like. How can we tailor your environment, to at least reflect the teachings of the faith that you're a part of? All right. So that is a part of the biggest problem that I think. So what are the effective ways? Commonalities is a constructive approach to fostering unity and understanding among diverse groups. Commonalities, we should identify those shared values, the positive beliefs. Individuals can work together to create a more harmonious society if they understand what those commonalities are. Just because you did things different from the way I think, that shouldn't make him my enemy. Just because somebody else here has a different perspective, that doesn't make them, it doesn't mean that they're anti-ChinEke. It doesn't mean that. People are influenced by their environment. So people are thinking according. Now I had a Jehovah Witness came to my door, and I listened to her, right? I listened to her, and because I was listening, she was so excited, so she kept trying to tell me about, all the books they have that I should read, blah, blah, blah. So I told her, I do appreciate that we have a divergence in values and beliefs, but she wasn't patient to hear my part. As soon as I started talking, okay, she looked at her watch. It was time for her to go. And she hopes that I find the Lord and all that. You see, this is that. So what did you come to my door for? What exactly did you come to teach me? What I knew was important is for me to listen to her. She took the time to come to the house, so came to my door, and I was the one who opened the door. So listened to her, and I listened. But because my perspective was different from hers, she didn't want to hear, and so she was not interested in looking at the commonalities, that we have. All she saw was that my belief was different from hers, and that's not good enough. That means my God is not her God. You see what I'm saying? So she didn't have the patience for any harmonious discussion. She didn't have the patience. And I'm not saying all Jehovah Witnesses, before anybody gets mad, it's not all Jehovah Witnesses that do that. There's some people who actually take the time to listen. But this particular one didn't, So she didn't give me a chance for us to see what are the commonalities, common ground, so that if there's any differences, we can bridge the divides and promote dialogue. But we didn't get to that point. All she did was hand me her paperwork. She didn't encourage me to see beyond our differences. She instead was irritated by the differences. So, but as she was walking away, so I called her back. I said, let me ask you a question. Have you ever been to Africa? She says, no. I said, okay. Have you been around African people? Not really. Okay. So are you surprised? I'm from Africa. Are you surprised that my values are different from yours? No, but the laws, I said, no, you're not answering the question. It's not what your book said. Because the book says what you're trying to tell me is really quite it's contradictory, because you're sharing your values. Your value says that if I don't believe, if somebody doesn't believe what you're saying, then that person is wrong. That person needs to be saved. I don't need you to save me. But we can have a conversation about the diversity, and perhaps we can find common ground. But you're not interested in that. You're interested in me accepting and all the papers you're giving to me and all of that. You want to share the message with me. I said, okay, I've heard your message. Are you willing to hear my message? So it is important for us to get in the habit. Me personally, all of us, no matter what our religion, is to see that the diversity is really based on how people are raised, their backgrounds, so that influences. And if I can embrace, if I can understand that, then I can look for our commonalities, not our negativity. I mean, not the differences. Okay. Now we tend to speak the truth about what is happening to us because of religion. All right. Because many of us have developed this idea, if I may use that expression, that we're not good enough. Our thoughts are not good enough. That's a belief system now. Now, if you're around an environment or an institution that tells you that your thoughts are not good enough, that what you believe is not good enough, that this is the only way, you develop that as well. You start to think, well, if somebody's thinking that they have an idea that's separate from what you're told, then that person is no good. Because this person that looks like me, they shouldn't be thinking that way. Because this religious principles say this is the only way. This is the only way. And then you adopt that. You're surrounded in your environment with people that say that. If you don't believe this, then you're wrong. If you don't believe this, then you're wrong. And then you develop that. And that's how you relate to your world. Okay, that those principles become your reality. They become your belief system. For some people, the environment is totally different from what the teachings are. Then some people, the environment is strictly what the teachings are. So it doesn't give them acceptance of dialogue to learn about other people's perspectives. They don't have that. So to me, this woman who came, she must have been taught that this is the only way to think. That her way of thinking is no good. So she comes in here and sees me as a fellow African, and she wasn't buying it. Immediately she tuned off. She literally wanted to run away, and I called her back. So you don't know me. You don't know you have no clue about us. What makes us, how we think. But you've already decided that the way I'm thinking is no good. I'll call them back. That the way I'm thinking is no good. So we didn't have any dialogue. We didn't have any communication. Immediately, I mean, it was over. It was over before it started. UD, your thoughts on what I just said.
You were saying that stuff, and I was just thinking about this story, with this whatever we think God is kind of thing. And I thought about the story of the walls of Jericho, where God told him that he promised them Jericho, that he should go in there and spare the life of the harlot who will hide the soldiers, the spies, and then open the gates, and these people will come in and bulldoze the city and destroy it. And the lady helped the Israelites. They went in there and they killed, murdered, destroyed everything, because it was part of the promise that God made to them. I will give you the land of Canaan. So they justified their murder and plundering and rape of other communities because that's what God promised them. But God didn't promise land to nobody else but them. They're God's chosen people. See, that's their conjecture. And that's based on the first thing we talked about. Sometimes religion is used to plunder other people, justify it, right? And then all of a sudden, God told you. That's what God said. Yes. And if God said it, it can't be wrong. Yeah. And who said God said? Who wrote that God said? It wasn't God. See, somebody wrote and said what the thing God said or what they want God to say. God had no choice in what God had to say. He had to say it for God the way he wanted to say it so that he could be blessed the way he wants to be blessed. By plundering other people. And they put it on God. And they're saying that my God is good. Now, if your God was strong, your God would have stopped my God from killing you. You know what I'm saying? But since my God helped me to murder your behind, my God got to be better than yours. And then you say to yourself, you know what? I think you're right. I'm going to leave my God and just follow your God. Your God that whooped my behind, that's the one I want. And that's where we are today. It's almost like a comedy. It's comedic. It's sort of like you're going to war, and before you go to war, you decide you're going to hack off both legs. And now the enemy's standing behind you. You about 4 feet tall now because you ain't got no legs. You're talking about God will provide. Really? Was God not there when your legs were cut off? Did he stop him from cutting off your leg? What makes you think God is going to all of a sudden now come to your aid when you ain't got no legs? Of course, your enemy is just going to put another one and cut both hands off. Now you ain't got no legs, you ain't got no hands. You're about to lose your head too. Right?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment, just so all those who are seeing these images, these are the INC, the graces of nature that the divine uses to bless us. I just wanted, because I'm putting it up here because that's our focus next year. I mean, our next show is going
Sure,
to focus on one or two of these INC and how what impact that has. This is a kuroche. A kuroche is the spirit of the water. Okay, and it's a feminine energy. So, but we're going to be talking about that next time. So I'm just here, so I've just put that there so people can see, and that's just a physical representation. People have physical representation of everything, so we just, it's the world we live in now, obviously. But the other thing, the one very important thing I wanted to say about part of this particular part of my presentation is we all of us, no matter what our religion, we have to emphasize common ground to help bridge divides and promote dialogue. We need to encourage people to see beyond the differences. I had an event and I invited somebody. Now I don't want to say what their religion is or anything like that, but they didn't come. They didn't attend. So the question is, why didn't they attend? Because according to them, some people don't believe in dialogue. They don't believe that we need to have dialogue, because it's my way or the highway. This is what this is what we were taught. The blah 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 blah. We don't want to hear anything else. So based on that, they didn't attend. So now I'm being invited to something else they're doing for me to come and attend. I'm not going to do that. Because if you're not open for dialogue, if you're not open to hear from other people, what am I going there to do? Just to hear your perspective? No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I've got a perspective that I want to be respected, that I want you to hear. I have no problems with your perspective. I will listen to it. All right. But I want to find the common grounds. What is the commonality between my perspective and yours? And let's work on that and make that the cause and the reason for our interpersonal relationship. Not the negatives, not the what separates us, but what brings us together. So we have to also examine people's negative beliefs. Why do they have those negative beliefs? Now, I was watching a video, this blew me away. A gentleman who's Italian, a Mexican, went to deliver. He delivers packages, So he goes to deliver this house. He doesn't speak English. So the homeowner calls police, calls ICE, because there's a man in front of his house. He doesn't speak English. So ICE has to come and get him because he doesn't speak English. What are we saying? The man is delivering your packages. You don't want him to get in his car. You slam the car door. You're videotaping him. You're calling ICE. You're calling the police. You're calling anybody to come and arrest a man because he's different from you. He doesn't speak your language. What is your language? Everybody comes with a language. Nobody was born speaking English. You speak English because your family speak English. If they don't speak English, you will not speak English. You will learn English ultimately. But this man had the police called on him because he doesn't speak English. You don't belong here. Now, this same man who said that is going to go to church. Now, do you think that's what the church would tell him to do? What are the principles of the church? Love your neighbor as you love yourself. Is that what he was doing? That's his own prejudices, his own personal beliefs, which supersedes what the principles that he's taught in church. And the man that they called eyes on, and the man was like, what did I do? Well, thank you, sir. I'm going. But he slammed the door. He didn't want him to leave. They told him he had to stay there. He wanted him to stay there until ICE came. So, Dibia, what would be the purpose? What would be the purpose of like I said earlier, if you have this concept of you being superior to somebody, right? Then you act accordingly. You abuse their humanity. You don't value their humanity. Because your personal belief system is not love your neighbor as you love yourself. No. You are surrounded, your environment tells you that you are chosen. You are better than anybody else. And based on that, you act accordingly and you diminish the humanity of others. And yet you will go to church and listen to that. That's why I'm saying churches should not just preach the principles and walk away. You need to know why your adherents leave the church or the mosque or wherever and go and commit crimes. Because they'll pick and choose whatever principle suits their ethics, suits their values. So those principles, all they do is validate their ethics, their values. That's why they pick and choose. So it's very important that we critically examine the negative beliefs or interpretations that can lead to discord and to recognize how these can be attributed to misrepresentation of spirituality or a misunderstanding of who the divine is. Most churches don't do that, DBUD. We don't address the challenges. We don't address the differences, the way people think, the environments. We just want to tell them, this is what's good. This is what you should believe. What I want Jesus to teach is, it is important that you evaluate who you are. If you believe that the Most High is in you, and the attributes of the Most High is positive, then that's how you're going to act. But if you have bad attitudes, a misconception about who the divine is, and if you don't even, because a lot of people don't see that the divine is in them, it's somewhere in heaven or it's somewhere in wherever it is, the paradise. Whereas we want to say to you, the spirit you're looking for is within you. Act accordingly. Positive. The spirit of ChinEke is positive. And if you teach your children, if you teach your family to be positive, then they will see God as positive. They're teaching you as positive. If you're teaching them to be hateful, that they are chosen because they have a certain color or they are a certain gender, that's what they are church, religious organizations that just can't even sit with women. I was watching a video yesterday when it was a documentary in Afghanistan. They just passed a new rule that women cannot speak in public. What the heck is that?
And the religion.
Women, but they say it's their religion that teaches them that. No, their religion does not teach them that.
It doesn't. It's
It doesn't. It's them. It's them. It's their own personal values and inadequacies, and that's what they're putting on these women. And the other thing that they do, and I was listening to the Somali community, in Africa, and I don't know if they do it here abroad, wherever, but Somalia had indicated that from now on you can only marry an 18-year-old. You cannot marry anybody who's younger than 18. Well, that didn't go over well. Within 24 hours, that law was struck down. The elders, the old men, all these people screaming, no. That because Muhammad married a child, they have the right to marry a child. They fought that these children as young as 4 with lipstick. I couldn't believe it. And
they just they don't want to be part of the world. I don't know.
You know, yeah, they were showing this 9-year-old who was obviously crying, and then the 10-year-old said she wants to commit suicide. But that's the values of the. It's not the religion that teaches them that. And even if your religion teaches you that, you've got to grow with the times, for heaven's sake. There are certain things that don't apply anymore. A baby is not marriage material. 4 years old, 9, my God. I couldn't even begin. My son was upstairs watching that with me, and he just lost it. He just stormed upstairs. He says, well, what in the world would you want to hurt a child? For what? They thought 18 was too old. Did you hear what I'm saying to you?
Yeah.
These are so-called spiritual people. 18 is too old, a woman, for them. But a 4-year-old, a 9-year-old, a 10-year-old, that's okay. Even by the time they start hitting 14, 15, they're getting too old. Now they're looking. It's amazing. So religion has to really look at the personal beliefs of their adherents. That's why you have too many different religions where the religion is preaching one thing and the people are doing another. They said the word, and this particular man was screaming, the world is coming to an end. The world is coming to an end. It was prophesied. Now we're being told we have to go by the laws of man, not the laws of God. God wants us to marry the little girls. Oh my God.
I don't know what God wants.
How do you know? How do you know that? How do you know that's what God wants? But they fought tooth and nail, Judy, and they changed the law within 24 hours in Somalia. Yes, I said it. Within 24 hours, the elders, the men, old men, screaming that they have the right to, oh my God. And then you have the parents who are selling their children. This little girl, 9-year-old, was sold because the parents didn't have money. You see, so it's disgusting, obviously. You know, so the people in religion, they have to examine the negative beliefs or interpretations of they should have a session where people need to actually tell the pastor, this is what I believe, and this is why I believe in it. And then the pastors, all these religious preachers should take all those things into consideration, you know, as they're preaching. Because just telling me thou shalt not kill, that has nothing to do with his reality. He's seen his father killing everybody. If that's what he's seen in his family, that's what he's going to do. Okay, what you said in church. Church is it's a social gathering place. After services, sometimes they get to eat. They stay back and eat. So the church necessarily is not a moral. It doesn't really have moral morality. It cannot really spread morality. The things that it is.
Extracurricular activity for families.
Yes, that teaches those things. They have to address these challenges so that they can promote positive values, because some people in their homes are not getting that. You just verbally telling them it's not going to do it. You're going to have to find out, have a session with your members of your organization and some of these members of your congregation, you know, set up dates for, you know, to just discuss not what the church wants them to do, just discuss their values. Discuss how do they feel about things. You, the church, listen. A child who's physically abused 24/7 will become abusive. I don't care what the church said. You see what I'm saying? So that's where, because we're not addressing the challenges, it's difficult to promote positive values. The only way churches and communities can start dismantling harmful ideologies or experiences and practices is to actually talk about them. Let the people know, give them a chance to voice their concerns. So my call, and I'll let you in a second add yours, DBAUD. My call today is pragmatic thinking. Don't think in terms of just what your church said. Instead of adhering to rigid dogma, engaging in open discussions about beliefs and their impacts can lead to more meaningful and constructive outcomes. Encouraging collaboration and understanding. For those who think my way or the highway and there's no need for collaboration, you're wasting your time. I don't know what you're teaching. We should not be having competition for followers or adherence to strict doctrines. We must allow for a more inclusive environment where diverse perspectives are valued. That's what I found very disappointing, that the people that I had invited, and I thank God for those who did come, that was their reason. Their reasoning for not attending is because not everybody likes the opportunity to have didactic discussion. They don't like it because they already have their own, doctrines, and they don't want that diluted. Think about that. That was the excuse I got. We don't want our strict doctrines diluted with something that's unknown. So ultimately, what happens, DBAUD, is we will foster a culture of empathy, respect, and shared purpose if we can work to transcend our differences and work towards common goals. What are our commonalities? UD, when you talk about the 18 purgative lights, we have a lot of commonalities. All religions have a lot of commonalities with those. There are certain things that don't mean anything to me because it's not my cultural experience. So they have no grounding for me. They have no foundation for me. So I don't focus on that. But what are some of those things that I can focus on that's from a different perspective? That's a good thing. But so for communities to implement this approach, practical ways such as through faith dialogues or community service initiatives, I think that's the direction we must go. Now let me end my presentation, DBAUD, and then have you take over here. I am a firm believer, and I've said it since the beginning of this discussion, that a significant challenge in religion today is promoting interfaith dialogue. It's difficult because the reluctance of some individuals to engage with differing beliefs due to fear of compromising their own doctrines. That's the problem. That's why you have many religions that will not have. Yeah, they have that. They go to these conferences or whatever, but they're not really. Now, I've been to some of those conferences. This person comes there and gives their own perspective. This person comes and okay, fine. So what are the commonalities? What do we take out of this other than the fact that we have expressed ourselves to say who we are and what we are? When we are fearful of each other, when we are fearful to compromise, if our focus is the fear of compromising our doctrines, then we create barriers to understanding and collaboration. And these are really, really very critical and crucial for addressing shared societal issues. Because if I live in this society and I'm Christian, I'm Chiist, and I'm Muslim, and this, that, and the other, whatever goes on in the society impacts me. So it becomes it's in my best interest to see, okay, how are these people thinking? Well, why do you think this way? Why do you think this way? Is there something else we could do so that we can have a common, we can come together, so we can solve the problem from, what they call making a spiritual glue. Everybody throws it in there and throws it in a container. We make a spiritual glue we can take and use the information that we've learned from each other for the better good of society, instead of just wanting people to take our way or the highway. So to me, interfaith dialogue can indeed be essential for fostering mutual respect and understanding, and allowing individuals to explore those values that we share together and acknowledge the differences. There's nothing wrong with differences. There's nothing wrong with that. But for the dialogues to be effective, participants must approach them with an open mind. We need to be open-minded. Recognize that engaging with others does not diminish our beliefs, but can enrich us, enrich our understanding of the broader human experience. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. So, Yudi, your thoughts?
Oh man, that's deep. I just want to kind of bring the microscope down and tease our viewers a little bit. Let people go home today and do some thinking, because we're deep like that. That's what we do. All right. So let's get deep for a second. What's the most valued commodity when it comes to religion and human relationship? Truth. The truth shall set you free.
Yeah.
Everything we talk about when it comes to spirituality and religion, it starts with Esioku. Tell the truth and shame the devil. Isn't that what they say? Yet, it is this same truth, this same valued absolute, that the same people preaching they're trying to hide. Don't tell the truth about stuff now, because you start telling the truth about the Bible or the Quran, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Imagine a preacher get up on that podium and just start telling the truth. The truth is painful, but it's all divine. And that's what I'm trying to, it's difficult for me to convey the fact that we put too much into the God business and really don't look around it to see what's influencing these beliefs and these truths and everything.
Yes.
I attended the University of North Alabama. I took a history class. And one of the books that we read was a guy called, I think his name was, there's a TV show that actually has the author's name, Jonathan something. I can't remember what it is. It was a TV show. And in the book, he says that war, famine, murder is good for the human race because it helps to maintain the balance between the population and food supply. It sounds cruel. Then I thought about it. Religious wars that causes famine. Then you have natural famine. Murders, wars, trying to hide the truth. Don't want to tell that Abraham was actually a plunderer. God blessed him with all these cats and gold. How do you think he got the cats and gold? I mean, if I want to make money, I got to sell something to make that money, right? Now, if I ain't got nothing to sell, and God promised me all this stuff, and then the next day I got a pot of gold and 100 heads of cattle, but trust me, it didn't fall from the sky. I actually had to strap on something, go take a few lives so I could get a few cows and camels and gold. That's the truth that nobody wants to tell you. The truth they don't want to tell you is while they tell you to love your neighbor and love yourself, they embarked on an adventure of murder, killing, displacement of indigenous people, while preaching the Holy Book and the Quran, whatever it is you're preaching to me, and then justifying your evil with the same God that you're trying to tell me to love and respect and see from your perspective, not from mine. You want me to embrace your truth, not my truth. You want me to embrace a truth that is alien to my experience as a human being, to my environment. You want me to become an Eskimo when I'm in the Amazon jungle. That's how human beings we've lived a life that way for millennia. There's never been a time where there weren't wars. There's never been a time where there wasn't farming. When did humans ever live where they weren't doing it to each other? It's the painful reality of nature, of life, of the truth that everybody involved in the exclusive truth business don't want to address. Like you mentioned earlier on the show, we see God differently, and we see God differently based on environment and experience, and what has been in our ears since we were babies. Once you dislocate yourself from what's in your ear as a baby and the church, and look at human beings for what they are and how they behave, your spiritual power becomes elevated. You begin to look beyond the microscope and all that is being talked about, and then realize that that is how the world works. The world is not about kumbaya, like you said, okay, Dibia. It's a Serengeti. And only the strong will survive. And trust me, religion is part of the weaponry of the strong. Because the weak, nobody talks about you. Nobody talks about your culture. Nobody talks about your religion. They don't talk about your economy. They don't talk about your military. They just absolve you. And you disappear. So a lot of us have been absorbed into this religious doctrine, way of seeing the world from a set of rules and religious values, as opposed to embracing the inner self. What do you see? What do you see when you hear, or what do you feel when you hear, I believe in the Almighty God, creator of the heavens and earth, as my source of inspiration, strength, and as my protector? Do you believe that as a Muslim, Christian, Buddhist? Cheers. Is that a commonality? Is that a truth that can bring us together? I mean, we want the truth, don't we? Is the truth not the fact that all human beings that believe in a God believe that ChinEke, that spirit, is their source of inspiration, strength, and their protector? We believe that every human being, consciously or unconsciously, looks up to something above him or her as their source of inspiration, and that something is the almighty ChinEke. Every religion that believes in a creator have that same belief system.
Yes.
On a spiritual level, remember, the creed of Chiism is spirituality. It's not religion. Right? I believe that every human being, consciously or unconsciously, looks up to something above them as a source of inspiration, and that something is almighty ChinEke. It's not a Christian thing. It's not a Muslim thing. It's not a Chiist thing. It's just a thing that we all believe in if you believe in a creator. That's one of the truths that we can't handle. We can't handle the truth, and in all these religions, we can't handle this particular truth right here. That every human being, consciously or unconsciously, looks up to something above themselves as their source of inspiration. Whether you go to church or not is not relevant. Do you look up to something as your source of inspiration? That spirituality that resides in all of us, whether we recognize it or not. The truth shall set you free, and that's the truth. The truth is that I believe that the kingdom of heaven and earth shall come when we learn to quarrel no more with our fellow human beings on the excuse and differences in methods of God worship. That's the truth. That should set us free, but we can't handle the truth. And the people that you tried to speak with the other day, the lady we were talking about, couldn't handle that the truth, that the other perspective. that God didn't just make you king, man. He doesn't come out and say, you know what, all these other human beings that I created is my mistake, even though you guys believe that I don't make mistakes because I'm God. But you know what, I messed up. Black people, Chinese people, all these people, it's just a mistake. Let's just get these Europeans with their religion. Let's just go in there and take it because I'm your God. And I promised you the land of Canaan. So they use the Holy Book to justify murder and mayhem. Started with Moses. Well, it started with Abraham. With the excuse one of the incidents is his brother was kidnapped, so he had to go and get his brother with 300 and something of his soldiers. And then when he just didn't go get his brother, he killed everybody and then took all their goods that had nothing to do with his brother that got kidnapped and then gave 10% of it to Melchizedek, the king of peace that has no beginning, has no ending, the one that was greater than the Christ, who was the Prince of Peace, and Melchizedek was the king. So last time I checked, the king is bigger than the prince. And God said it in Hebrew. I didn't make it up. I think it's chapter 17, verse 14, or chapter 14, verse 17, something like that. You can check that out. So, in conclusion, the truth will set us free. But are you ready for it? Because if we accept the truth for what it is, there will be peace on earth. If we accept truth for what it is, then we'll understand that every human being has a right to worship God the way they understand best without bitterness. If we understood that, we will not be fighting people over methods of God worship.
What's
going on in Sudan with those children and the stuff that you were just talking about in Somalia and the marriage and all that, that will not be happening because now we have a conscience. Now we know the truth. And the truth is that those children will be traumatized for the rest of their lives.
For the rest of their lives.
Citizens, their lives will be wasted.
That's
a person who could have, a girl that could have been a doctor would never become one. Yes. That could have been an engineer would never become one. That could have been a president or politician would never become one because a bunch of Muslim old people believe that their truth is that they should rape little girls.
Well, let's call it what it is. It has nothing to do that's just child.
Religion as an excuse.
They're using religious and anyway, that it's just horrific. Well, how do you think communities can encourage more churches or religious organizations to adopt the inclusive approach? This is the end. Again, here's a picture of Allah, construction of Allah, Mother Earth. All right, we are going to be talking about. We're going to focus on her next Sunday, not the following Sunday. We're going to be talking about her. So what is it? How do we get communities to start thinking, encourage more churches or religious organizations to adopt this inclusive approach? Because Chiism is inclusive. You know, we're just saying there's nothing wrong with us. Okay, there's nothing wrong with us, but we have to have conversations. We have to be engaged.
Thinking, not conservative.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I said we have to be a little liberal in religious dialogue.
Yes. So we've got that. You got it. We have 2 minutes. Today, both of us have pinpointed a significant challenge in promoting interfaith dialogue: the reluctance of individuals to engage with beliefs that are different from their own. Okay, this, quite frankly, is a part of the problem. So we need to go past that. We need to develop community-based initiatives that focus on shared goals like social justice. Everybody believes that. Most religions believe that. Social justice, environmental stewardship. This is for Chiism. That's why everything is based on, all the graces of ChinEke is based on nature. We're environmental steward. We believe we're environmental stewards, you know, and also poverty alleviation. You know, this can serve, all of these can serve as powerful platforms for collaboration, you know. So when we engage in these efforts, we can unite individuals from different faiths and backgrounds, emphasizing action over dogma and fostering a sense of collective responsibility. Again, it is important for us to understand that it is, yes, you may have your set of dogma, but people, for the most part, are influenced by their environment. And it's important for us to understand why people think the way they think before we dismiss them as being anti this, anti that, or not be stewards of God's, or incapable of receiving God's blessings, ChinEke's blessings, or whatever the name is. So anyway, we've come to the end of our show today. Thank you so very much, Divya Yudi. Thank you, Sovereign. Thank you for being with us. Okay, the Charles. I wanted to announce something today, but so the first person who came in today will receive what is it? $50. That's what Kenny. So what is that? What's $50? That's about $17,000 a naira. For he's always here, but he was the first today. And then the other person that came in was Sovereign. Okay, so she gets the same thing. So today we gave away $100 for those who have joined us today, first and second person that showed up today. So congratulations to you all. You'll be hearing from me for joining us today. Thank you, Divya Yudi, for your for your wonderful contribution, and I hope that those who joined us today enjoy the gift of money for the holidays that we're giving away. Okay. Anyway, thank you all. Thank you so very much for joining us. Yudi, please stay with me after the program is over. Thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you all for joining us. And we are hoping that you join us again in 2 weeks. Thank you. Here we go. Y'all guys here. Y'all guys here.
Sekudala sisebenzele mva yalale kukade sihleli singezinto sekudala